we thriving today, Lainey?
I'm always thriving.
Thriving, yeah.
Thriving?
Thriving.
So today's talk's all about thriving. So I'm Steph. I'm Head of Customer Success at TiPJAR, which hopefully you know me very well. I'm going to be talking to you today all about your team's culture, recognising that as well. So I'll just do a few intros. Sean, do you want to go first? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sean. I'm the HR Director at Clays. We're a competitive socialising clay shooting bar. And yeah, I've been there for 5 years.
Amazing.
So I'm Sarah. I'm from Côte Brasserie. I've been there forever. And I am head of people. We're a French restaurant. And yeah, been around for a while.
Amazing. So first question, it's probably a big hot topic at the moment, the overall view of what's going on in hospitality. It's been in the media actually quite a lot over the budget. Just want to understand for you both what's going on really in your world and how that's affecting you.
People? Yes. Yeah. I think it's tough out there at the moment. So I don't think there's any kind of illusion of that. And lots of operators that you're seeing on a daily basis going through change, and some companies going into administration. And actually, I think people are thinking a lot about where they're spending their money at the moment. You're in a competitive market, like trying to get people to come. So yeah, I think it's really tough out there. From a competitive socialising space within hospitality, which we work in, it's become really crowded in the last few years. There's a lot of competition, and certainly for us, we're not the new concept anymore. So it's really thinking about the value that we're giving to our customers, and that doesn't just come in like the price, but also the experience that they have with us, and people are really valuing that aspect. So from a team perspective, we're really having to think about how we're making our teams be set up to deliver that experience and be motivated to deliver that experience for our guests.
I also have been to Clays, and I can say that every time I've been, I've had great experience.
You've got to say that.
Yeah. I've come home today because I used to work at Côte. And so, yeah, what's life like for you?
Yeah, it's a similar story. So funny enough, considering we're slightly different hospitality backgrounds, it's exactly the same. Like, people will still spend money, but they're choosing and where they spend their money. So actually value perception is really important. So it's actually getting a good experience, brilliant food, brilliant service. So it's always trying to be that for whoever comes through your doors, and then delivering that experience, and then hoping that they'll come back again. Yeah, so it is really difficult, especially when we've got tighter labour costs, we've got more expensive produce, etc. Everything's tight. So trying to deliver an amazing experience when everything's being squeezed is an art.
Yes, absolutely. I also downloaded the Côte app, the new app too. The reward 100,000. Yeah, amazing. Incredible. Yeah, great. So I don't mind who answers this, but on a typically busy shift, what tells you your team feels supported and valued?
Shall I go this time? Yeah. Visually, it's smiling faces, laughing guests, lots of chatter, lots of buzz. We know in hospitality, it is often chaos, but actually that shouldn't be showing in the teams. It should be an element of calmness, helping people out, supporting each other. So that's the visual aspect. And I guess the other side of the business, like KPIs, you spend, the head goes up, they're passionate about product, they want to sell, they want to recommend, they want to suggest. It elevates the guest experience, but also it's obviously helping business return guests.
Do you want to add anything to that in terms of, I suppose, the value for the team? So how do they feel valued on that busy?
Yeah, so something for us that I think our teams really value and that we can see them be really motivated by is actually our team food. And we know when the team have a meal that they don't think is as good, that they'll be like less motivated and bought into.
Do you get that feedback from them?
Yeah, and actually our general managers will comment on, like the meal wasn't so good today, and so I think maybe they weren't so happy. And actually our team's like very health conscious, as lots of people are, and they want vegetables, they don't want fried food. And I think traditionally in hospitality that's what was served for the team if you were able to offer that. And actually we know when we give them a really nutritious delicious meal, they feel motivated, that we know that they have what they need to be able to perform well in the shift. So that's been something that they've really valued, and we can definitely see that kind of play through in how they perform in their shift if we get that, which has been interesting. And actually our head chef's been doing a bit of work on that recently. We've rebranded it as Clay's Cuisine, which we love, and we get really active in terms of getting feedback from the team. But outside of that, as a kind of point of motivation for them, we also have like our pulse checks to see like, how did that shift go for you? Like when they clock in or clock out, we get a pulse on, was it good? Did they enjoy it? How did they feel? Did they feel supported? And that type of stuff.
Oh, we're going to get that when we move to Sonnet. I can't wait.
So you can do a daily feedback.
It's got that temperature check. It's so good. And it's really relevant, isn't it? And how they're feeling at that moment. Do you have a team menu, or is it just a different dish each time?
So the kitchen teams are responsible for coming up with the meal. So the head chefs in the venues will kind of buy in that. And it's not the same as the menu that we serve our guests. So they'll do that as like a separate meal. And they'll both take through it. There will be repetition, but it's always got a protein. There's always like a starch. And then there's vegetables and stuff as well. So we make sure, it's good.
So I suppose like genuine... How do you make the team feel like a genuine priority instead of just not on paper, like tick box? How do you do that?
I guess to me it's listening, making sure that you're hearing the good and the bad and the ugly. But then it's not just listening, it's making sure that they understand that there's action, or if there can't be action, the reason why there can't be action.
Yeah.
And I think, especially for us, it's really important that we get the comms. Like, we've been through an awful lot of change and still be going through a lot of change, and we need to communicate with the teams, and so they feel invested. They feel like they're part of the journey and understand why things are happening, changes are happening, focuses are happening. And then the other thing is just the on-spot recognition and reward for doing some brilliant things, and just being able to instill that into the brilliant general managers to make sure that they own their restaurants and their brasseries, to be able to really look after their teams. It can't be everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And I think that in terms of when we developed our people proposition at Clays, we've really thought about how we position our team at the kind of center of the experience that we're delivering. And we know that they make all the difference for our guests in terms of really elevating the experience that they have with us. And because it's beyond the kind of F&B, we've also got the experience side, which takes people to understand the game and be able to play it. It does mean that we've got to do a lot of work in terms of making sure the team understand that and the part that they play. So we have a Players Academy, that's our kind of development program that we have set up, that is from the day that someone joins us, whether they've come with hospitality experience or not, they'll join an emerging or an established pathway. And it's really something that's very alive in our venues. We talk every week with our managers about our academy, where our team at. So we're constantly talking about the team members and making sure that they're on track with their learning development, so that they understand that it is important to us as it is to them, that they're developing and learning and growing in their roles, because we don't want people to join us just for a job. We want them to join us for a career in hospitality, because we really feel like we can offer that to them.
It feels like a community.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah, our players.
Yeah, I love it. I suppose the next question is all about actions, and there's a lot of stuff that you have done so far. So if you could just choose one meaningful change that's improved your team's experience, and why?
Can I choose two?
How long have we got?
I can do it quickly. So one was actually pretty much in line with what you've just said there. So we've absolutely revamped our induction program. So we've moved it online. It was paper-based before. We tried to make it as interactive as possible, covering everything from culture, who we are, what good looks like for us, and then the steps to be able to do your job role and other resources and tools. And I think you might be asking this later anyway, but actually the impact is that our retention is the best it's ever been in the 18, 19 years that Cote's been around.
Yeah.
And that's incredible for us, because we know that financially it's a big spend if you're totally like learning and people are coming in and you've got to teach them from the beginning. It's also a cultural thing, and also a guest experience if you've got a new team that aren't trained in the right way. So that's been huge for us. We're still embedding it, so we're still getting back into the importance of making sure people are inducted in the right way.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which again is something that you'll be very familiar as an old Coty, but we probably have lost our way a little bit on with a million priorities, and that's a passion for products. And it's a bit like you're experiencing, but for us it's about the food and the drink, and actually really giving people the opportunity to understand and learn about the products, because one, it gives them confidence, it makes it a nicer environment if they can talk to our guests about different things. It also helps us financially because they actually can recommend dishes, they can sell dishes. Yeah, so we've set up a Coat Learn website, and on there you've got dishes, you've got the product, and it's need to know, nice to know, great to know. And depending on your interest, I guess, is where a level you can go to.
I've always been surprised, and maybe it's because, like, on a personal level, I love food and drink, but I'm not like that interested in finding out. But I love seeing the team get so excited about a certain type of product and like learning everything about it. Like tequila, for example, and they'd know everything about tequila.
Have the favourite.
Being able to put a masterclass on for them and stuff. I agree. It makes such a difference for them to have that passion.
Yeah.
And I think with that as well, if a guest is getting that service and that passion, they are more likely to tip more. Like, you want to.
Absolutely.
I remember when we went to Clays and we had this amazing guy, and we wanted just to give him a direct tip because we were like, "You're incredible. I want to come back." You get that because you feel that buzz, that passion.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you go to, like, the guest goes to these businesses, they want to see that passion and that motivation. It's so important. And I think what did you introduce to make the quickest difference to morale and motivation is that, right?
Yeah, it goes back to that value perception as well for a guest. Like, they're not only getting fresh, beautiful food, but they're getting the experience, and they're getting somebody that looks like they want to be there and want to engage with them and is interested to have conversations. And hopefully for the team member as well, they feel really good about that interaction and makes them enjoy.
And it becomes regular, because you know you're going to go there and you're going to have that conversation with that person. Yeah, love that. So in terms of the next set of questions are about customer experience. Can you share a moment where a motivated team member directly improved a guest experience? I just probably answered that from
We are really lucky, actually. We do have a fantastic team, and they're super engaged, and we have a set of values, behaviours, and sure, like everyone does, but we have our values are framed as questions, and we empower our team to use our values to make decisions. They're safe. Is it safe? Is it going to create an amazing experience, and is it lasting? And we ask our teams to be autonomous, free thinkers and apply those values to make guest experience amazing. And one of the best examples that we had was a guest who came in who was deaf, and they used British Sign Language, and it was their birthday, and obviously we were able to accommodate the guest, and they interacted with the game and did everything. And one of our team went and learned quickly how to sign happy birthday and then like almost like sing to them, and came back and did that and presented them with a free cupcake, I think, for their birthday. But it made such a difference to that guest, but also the group that they were with, and they were empowered to do that. And it was such a wow, what an amazing moment that we've created an environment where someone has taken that initiative to do that and elevate that experience that way.
And also, what an amazing person that person is. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Obviously, exceeding expectations. I think I haven't forgotten that.
I know.
That's how my life is now. That is my mantra.
And it's always going about what does a guest expect, and then going one above. And I was actually going to say, well, obviously there's lovely, beautiful moments of recognising it's someone's birthday without them telling you, or asking questions to understand why they're visiting, to be able to apply sort of more personal service for them. But actually it's also in the resolution. So if things don't go well, like, how well are you dealing with it? Like, I always say, if a guest leaves and complains and we haven't done a good enough job internally, sometimes they don't tell you. So yeah, I get that. So I think that's really important. But then it's also those tiny moments where you can just elevate the guest experience by noticing something. And it's a crazy story. It's not crazy, but there's the one story that will always stick in my head. And it was a guest that went into a while ago in Brasserie. They were sat outside with a little dog, and they had a full meal on their own, and the waiter took the dog a sausage. And we had the nicest letter back from this guest. It was just like, well, she's on her own, and not only they made her feel special, but also they recognised the dog. And it's those small things that actually, that cost nothing to do that, but that made that guest day.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and obviously love dogs.
Yeah, do that.
I'll be bringing Kenya in and get sausage. You mentioned obviously the turnover, the retention has massively improved. So what has actually changed in retention, turnover, or staff behaviour since focusing more on people, I suppose, for Clays?
So we've been really fortunate, actually. We've always done very well with retention. And I think that's fundamentally because the principles that we set out from the outset around our people proposition has always been about treating people well, doing the right thing, using our values and investing in them. And that comes in lots of different ways, right? So some of it is reward and some of it is not reward based. And I will ask our team to think about, I try and refer to it as the total reward package. So it's not just about the base pay that they take home on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, but all of the other things that we offer to them that do have a financial value but don't necessarily come into their bank account. And then some of it does come into their bank account, like their tips, for example. We have done really well in terms of the split of our business being quite driven by corporate parties as well as the consumer online bookings. And as a result of that, we've been able to do really well with our tip proposition for our team for quite a long time, because often with the corporate bookings, you can get a lot of that bought up front. And that has meant that we've been able to have that income for the team at a really high level, and particularly over peak periods. It's actually like crazy.
Imagine Christmas, your tips were insane.
Yeah. I think one of our managers took $4,000 home in a month in just tips. So it is insane. Yeah, I know. But in addition to that, it's all of the kind of non-financial aspects as well that also form part of that total reward package, the colleague discount there, the investment that we make into the learning and development proposition that we give them and the qualifications that they can have off the back of that. It's also to do with some of the other incentives that we give them and the other benefits and perks that we give them access to through like discounts and stuff, which they don't have.
TiPJAR rewards.
TiPJAR rewards, which do have a financial value, but it's not one that's in their pay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think what's just to meant to be following a strict tip. We'll switch it up. Just you made a really good point there around like obviously the tips and the corporate packages. Do you find that you're retaining staff because they can see like on their TiPJAR wallet, they can see the feed, they've got that data coming through. They're like, oh wow, Christmas.
Yeah. So we, as Steph, because we moved over to TiPJAR 2 years ago now, we used to pay our team their service charge on a monthly basis, and then they would get a bonus every 3 months through like an old clog scheme. And obviously when the legislation changed, we looked at that and we wanted to make sure everything that we did was compliant. But using TiPJAR, we were able to transition our team to having weekly tip payments. And obviously it's not obvious at all, we pay monthly their salaries, but their service charge is now paid on a weekly basis. And that was a change. It was a change that we had to implement with the team. And certainly when we announced it, there was a lot of like, how is this going to be? How it's going to feel? And we were really lucky because we did it just before Christmas, around the start of November. So then they went into December and their tips, every week, they were like, this is amazing. I'm getting this much money into my bank every week. Made such a difference to how the team were motivated through that period. You really see it over the peak period, so it makes such a difference.
Sure. Thank you for all that. Did you want to add anything in terms of the staff behaviour since focusing more on your people?
Yeah, I suppose for us it starts with defining what good looks like. Yeah. So everyone's really clear on what's expected of them when they come to work. Because I suppose not many people work well in ambiguity, so some clear instructions of what good looks like and how we support you to get there is really important. And then, as I said, by stuff like our inductions, etc., it's just really helped us have a really smooth first 90 days and really put importance on that person to make sure they're looked after and supported in the right way. But of course, pay is equally as important because that's why people come to work in the majority of cases. So it is having that balance of like the basic needs plus like the additional things to make people feel comfortable and thrive in their.
There we go. Yeah. You got it in there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Not so much thriving. I'm going to say budget. Terrible word. As we know, obviously the budget's just happened. It's tight right in hospitality right now. I suppose, how have you balanced financial pressures with looking after your team?
Yes, so there is the financial pressures and there is less people out there. So the two together is the perfect storm. So it's, I think, going back to where we started in the first place, how we deliver that exceptional service and experience. So we do look after our guests and we can get the most out of each time they visit, and hopefully they come back. But it does feel tight for our teams. Like, the honesty is, of course, they can feel that we're looking at labour, we're looking at all different areas, and they will ask questions. And so it's about making sure that they really understand, especially when it comes to labour, and like that, the dirty word, that actually it's not about cutting, it's about redeployment, making sure that we've got enough people in the right places, and making sure that we're looking at that rather than like cutting people down. But equally, this segue, actually, if we can be a little bit more productive with our teams, that actually it's financially rewarding through their tips. So actually it's about helping them understand the bigger picture, as well as just focusing on their day-to-day, what happens in their brasserie. It's hard, and I think everybody's feeling it, and has been for a long time. It feels like we're talking about it every single year. So it's something, isn't it? It does. But I think helping with comms, making sure that we're telling people about why we're making the changes. I think we were, as a business, kept our cards quite close to our chest for a long time, but now we're trying to be much more transparent. It's all about transparency. We're asking, you may be hearing this, that it's because of this. So we've got some way to go, but we're definitely on the right path of being much more open. We, as an SLT and support up, is being much more visible, much more hands-on in the brasseries, because we're there to support them. It's not a us versus them thing, which it can, when you start to grow, it can feel like that. Oh, they've told us we need to do this. That's what we want to eliminate, and it will be a process, but we're on like the first part of that process. And it's feeling nice, it's feeling good. People recognise you. They recognise me, obviously, because I've been here forever. So, like, some of the other SMT as well. Like, attending our meetings. That's really positive.
It is. What I was going to say was, I think to your points there, I think it's about productivity and looking for efficiencies. And that doesn't necessarily mean that people have less time or less hours. It's putting it in the right place, but also thinking about where can we use technology to support our teams to be more efficient, looking at whether that's a kitchen ordering system or whether it's the labour deployment and how the devices and how we prompt managers to be looking at the right things at the right times, I think is important for us being able to do more with less at the end of the day.
So, which investments in your people have delivered the best return for your business? What's thriving in Côte right now?
So, I already talked about inductions, that's boring. The other thing which is really important is sort of like career paths. So I think that's why we managed to retain so many of our teams, because we've been through various evolutions of Côte and slightly different changes in our direction. So each time you're trying to revamp the material and support that you're giving the teams. But actually, for quite a while, to be fair, after COVID, because of we had a lot of change and people weren't meeting together as much, we had to rework how we helped our teams move up or just grow in their roles. And it took a little while, but as soon as we landed like a voyage career pathway, honestly, the engagement just goes through the roof. So being recognised to be able to go on one of those programs is brilliant, giving people the opportunity to grow. I think, I don't know if it's the same for you, but after COVID times, we found that we were much more reliant on bringing external managers in than we had been previously. So we were really good at internal progression, and we obviously complemented it with external hires, but it switched and it got 50-50. So it's trying to redressing that balance, because actually bringing culture through our business is so important. And actually we really wanted our people to know that we invest in them, and that gives them an opportunity to grow and build careers. Like I didn't intend to be in hospitality in my life. I was against it, but that wasn't my career trajectory, but I had the opportunities. It's nice to be able to give other people opportunities and them to say, actually, I can do a career in this. And I think that's more, I've talked about 90-day retention. I think the overall LTO is things like that.
Yeah, it's amazing to give people opportunities. That's what it's all about.
And I think, I completely agree with you, Sarah, in terms of the career path and the ability to retain. 100% of our assistant managers in our venues have been promoted internally, and that has been, but I think it really helps in terms of they understand the business, they understand the culture, so the learning trajectory is so much easier moving into that type of position, and the cost to the business in terms of doing that and the return is so much higher. The other thing that we launched last year that has been fairly low value. It's more time that's required. Is that we do a monthly newsletter for our team called The Reload, and we've put a lot of effort into making that like something that's really aesthetic, that people are really excited to read, pulling in stories across the business, focusing on what's happening, sharing information, whether that might be promotions or campaigns that are happening, or whether that's something that's going on outside in the world that we think we should want to raise awareness on, or our technology. We have a tech corner in the newsletter where our tech team will do updates, and that's something our team are really interested in, because every day they're dealing with that with our guests, so they want to know when we flagged that this is an issue, and then they can see in the tech corner in the Reload that we're addressing it or what's coming. And that has gone a long way in terms of the engagement of the team, really understanding what's happening in the business. And it's a very small kind of cost to us to do it. We don't print it, we put it online, and as a Hazy, I think it is like an online magazine, and it goes down really well. And every month the HR manager in my team that produces it, he'll say, I'm so excited, I can see everyone reading it. I'm like, oh, it's so good. But also the reward that he's getting in terms of doing that piece of work as well is because it takes a lot to put a newsletter together.
Yeah, we had one for a bit, The Dish, and honestly, it was so good. But what we struggled with is because in all honesty, is you'd probably get managers reading it, and you'd probably get support office reading it. We just couldn't get down to like ground level team members. And I don't know if you've got the perfect solution or anybody has it, but we seem to just hit a population, and we're still trying to find like that golden nugget to communicate with our sort of ground needs.
I think it's been a benefit to being such a young company and developing in the way that we have, is we've never printed anything. So we've always done everything online. So it's always been either through an app or through like the kind of systems that we use. So our teams have been really used to receiving their comms on their phone. And of course we've had to find the ways to make them open it and to engage with it. And we don't get it right all of the time. And certainly it can be a bit hit and miss, but that having been there from the start, I think has made a big difference, because
exactly. In that technology business, that's exactly ingrained in it.
Yeah. Whereas 5-10 years ago, if you'd been said to people, oh, you're going to have to download an app to do it, people have been like, oh, for God's sake. Whereas our team are like, yeah, okay, so I'm on my phone anyway. So we do get a relatively good response to that.
So if we had other operators in the room, what's one thing you'd tell them in terms of they were struggling with turnover of staff morale?
I would say getting quick and to understand, because you know that once you get into that turnover, that it's a vicious cycle, because every time you bring somebody in, it's chaotic, the culture's not good, the probably training's not good because they're short-staffed, and so then they leave. And so it just keeps going. So actually, as soon as you notice that actually you've turnover might be a thing, try and get in, ask questions, understand, and then the high level support to be able to bring in the right people, because it's identifying, are you bringing the right people? Is it because they're not being inducted in the right way? Is it because the culture's not great, or is it something else? And I think identifying that quickly and supporting the team. Honestly, once you're in that cycle, it's so hard to get out. We have the brasseries that are always there, and trying to pull them out of that cycle is hard. Yeah, really.
I've also seen a lot of businesses start to, like within December, and obviously it's the busiest time for hospitality, they've put their HQ staff within the operation. So they've asked them to go and do a shift. I think that's great.
We did that.
Like you really get, then like
you see the problem.
Instead of just putting it through technology, it's actually having those conversations. So yeah, that's a great one.
I would also add to that, I think that one of the most difficult roles in our businesses is that of the frontline manager, because they get it from their team underneath and all of the things that they need from them, and then they're also getting a lot of information from support office or their line managers, so the second line managers. And I think and often those people are not hugely far on in their career. It might be their first management role, and I think if you can get those managers with the right information, the right tools, the right support around them, that will really help with maintaining your kind of turnover levels that are acceptable, because they are able then to give their team what they need. I think when you start seeing the pressures come from both directions, and you definitely know like a good manager will be a reason that people will stay. Or a bad manager, or someone who's not even necessarily a bad manager, but not able to give the team what they need because of whatever reason, can be a spiraling situation.
I think you made a great point as well, like tools. Give the team the right tools to do their job. Like, it's so important, because if they haven't got that, then it all just falls apart. So
it's been really something we feel really passionately about, is feedback and listening to our teams, in particular our managers, around how things are landing. I've talked a bit about the Clays Academy that we have, but the iteration that we're on now is not the iteration we were on 5 years ago. It's constantly evolving, and I'm really okay with that, in that it might have worked then and it doesn't work now. And I think also in the world, we're much more aware of neurodivergence and the way that people learn, the way people absorb information, and actually it shouldn't be about a one size fits all, or that's how it has to be done. It's really trying to listen to actually in the reality of the people that work in our businesses, in our industry, and how they need that information to be given to them, or how they would learn. It can be really varied, and being really open and susceptible to being able to do things differently or think about things differently, I think is really valuable to making the difference.
Yeah, well, I said in Arch 2.0 for that very reason. Like, we've got some classroom based stuff which they love, but it can't all be classroom based, because that's not how everybody learns. Like, the engagement side of being with your peers is amazing, but actually what other ways can we help people develop?
Definitely. So if you were supposed to start again, what would you prioritize first?
I think, but obviously the basics, that make sure that people feel safe and they've got the right pay, etc., etc. Then for me, I think it's so important the lead up to the business is set up for success, because, like you've just alluded to it anyway, if they are not, whether on purpose or not, then unfortunately that team will always be affected. And so actually making sure that we're supporting the GMs in the best way, capability-wise, behaviour-wise, leadership-wise, to be able to support their teams then in the best way too. Feels like if you've got a good leader, then everything works. I mean, not everything, but most of it.
Really similar, but I think it would be about making sure that we get communication and engagement right with our teams from the outset, and that absolutely would be management level, but also at a junior team level, because we definitely took some time to think about how we could really get that right and have the right level of engagement with it. And as we were saying earlier, like the hook that makes people want to be engaged with it, like the things that we're saying, are they worth listening to? Do they want to listen to it? And how we make them feel like have that psychological contract with us as an employer, that they want that from us and that they trust it.
Definitely. And for us as well, like I think we've learned by putting so much change into business at one time, like people just don't have the capacity to do it, and you're almost setting people up to fail. So actually keep it really simple and then build.
Definitely.
So I think obviously just some key takeaways from what we've been chatting about, obviously prioritising teams is better team culture, better culture is better service,
Absolutely.
back for more. And then obviously better service is better retention and reviews, and clearly obviously tips. We touched on benefits earlier. TiPJAR, we've just launched Lids. We've activated it for both of you actually. That's exciting. It's free for a year for all of our customers. So if you'd like to add it, please contact us. We want to get that. But any feedback since it's been live?
I think it was really interesting that the conversation we were having. Earlier. So actually we hadn't even launched the business that we were doing it, but you just turned it on and people automatically were just going in and signing up for it. So actually there's definitely a need, and the hook. If people are on the platform, they're going to have a little look. And actually, if it's accessible, then for me it works. We have other rewards and benefits platforms, but that's the one they're going to go to and use, and
because they're constantly on it in their app. So
the point of us having it is so it's a benefit to them, and if they're not using it, as in other words, no point. So actually, if they're on there and they're in it.
Essentially, what TiPJAR want to do is make those tips just go further. That's what we're all about. We want to support people and get the most out of their tips. It's a really exciting time.
Can they spend their tips directly on the reward app?
No, so at the moment with the reward app, it goes into a separate web browser, and then they can just put a debit or credit card in. But eventually we've all,
I think that's the golden nugget.
yeah, the golden nugget, yeah, exactly, where you can just go in and spend and save essentially to other businesses. But yeah, do you ever get feedback around TiPJAR? If you walk into your business, do you ask about their tips or?
I don't get a huge amount of feedback, and I love that. Like, I think that's a really positive thing, that it's working really well, because if it wasn't, I would be getting a lot of feedback.
Well, it's paid motive.
Exactly, yeah. And so whenever I do hear from one of my team, it might be like, oh, this hasn't, like, this is missing, or I don't understand this, and it's just a case of clarifying it. And we've obviously been able to hook in with your support team, who are really responsive, and sort that out for them. But no, don't get any feedback. And I think I'd like it like that, in a good way, in terms of how the team feel about their service charge, like very positive, and like they get lots and they love it. So being able to give that to them on a weekly basis, particularly over the peak periods, is so valuable. Yeah.
Obviously in the first few weeks, because it's new,
Yes.
yeah, system, there's bits going on that are just,
Yeah.
and so the good things, so people, employees, team are very aware that if they work busier shifts, they get more trunk, more service charge. So that is positive for us, because it actually makes them more inclined to work the busier shifts.
You do daily tips.
We decide on it. Yeah. So that's a real positive. And our GMs and head chefs are banging on the door to be like, we want some of that.
Yeah.
So obviously that's not for me to decide, but they obviously can see how their teams are reacting positively to it. And yeah, they really want to be involved. We'll see.
Amazing. Yeah, every time I pop into a Coke, my local one, I always chat to the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to add from today's chat at all?
Nice to meet you.
My friends now.
Let's go for drinks. Yeah,
They're thriving.
thriving. Thanks for listening to us today. And if you'd like any more information on TiPJAR or this conversation, reach out to us via LinkedIn or our website.
Come on.
Bye-bye.